So Isa, we're going back to Norway in just 5 weeks. Do you know the name of the town we live in Norway?
Kampung.
What's Kampung, Isa?
Wait, I forgot what it's called.
Kampung is village in Indonesian.
Oh.
It's called Esther. So what food are you looking forward to the most in Norway?
McDonald's with rice.
I said, did you know that they don't have rice at McDonald's in Norway? You're gonna have to eat potatoes.
Gross.
My name is Esther. I live in Indonesia with my husband Daniel and our 3 kids. After 3 years of Bible and missionary training, we arrived in Indonesia in November 2012. We knew we wanted to be involved somehow in sharing the gospel with those who have not yet had a chance to hear it. Our first months in Indonesia were as expected. We were tired, constantly trying to meet our own expectations of language and ability to function as a family in a culture very different from our own. Just a few weeks after arriving in Palu, I fell very ill and was unable to walk for several months. That was almost 4 years ago, and I'm still struggling with the effects of it. Honestly, there are many times I have wondered why I'm still here and what the point is in continuing. When we stepped out in faith and chose to serve Him, I never imagined that He would allow me to become so weak that even the most basic everyday tasks felt impossible. But looking back, I can see that God was using this time to teach us so many amazing things about Himself, and that until Christ was enough for me, nothing would be enough. God didn't want me to just stay busy for Him. He wanted to use these struggles to teach me things about Himself and to be an encouragement to others who were going through similar situations. Samson joined karate classes a couple of years ago at the local school. At first we were unsure he would want to continue, but he has persevered and seems to enjoy the challenge. Of course, all the commands and the way that they explained things was quite hard for him to understand, and it was very fast. But he kind of got along by just looking at his friends and doing whatever they were doing. And I don't think the teachers necessarily realized how little he understood. But over time, he understood more and more. We definitely noticed a big improvement and a lot more confident in his Indonesian than he was in the beginning. Ariel and Samson have also recently started piano lessons, which they really enjoy.
Jeg lekser til piano. Jeg har ikke gjort det enda, jeg gikk enda seg mer nå.
It has not always been easy for them to fit in with the culture here in Indonesia, especially in a city where it is very easy to cut yourself off from people. However, with a little effort, all 3 have made friends here in Palu, and this has really helped them to adjust and feel at home. One of the things they have learned while living in Indonesia is to be accepting of people no matter how different the culture, and to adjust to situations they are put in without being overwhelmed or afraid. Even they have had to learn to step out in faith, and have seen how God can not only provide them with great friends, but also help them to thrive in a culture so far from their own. As we began to look for ways to be involved with the local church here in Palu, we saw an opportunity to begin teaching and discipling the young people who come to town to continue school.
Jeg skal gjøre det klart til alle som kommer til å lære mer om Gud.
Most of these kids are from Wana and Laoje people groups. They meet here regularly every Thursday night, but tonight's a bit special because for the first time they're going to be the ones teaching, and they're going to start from the very beginning from Genesis in the chronological teaching. So this is a first, so we're very excited. These young people often come with a very poor start in school and little idea of what to expect from life in the city. This can make it an unsafe place for them to live in without help and guidance from people like our Wana co-workers here in town, who are responsible for a dorm of around 20 kids. More than anything, our goal is that these young men and women develop a clear understanding of the gospel, their position in Christ and how that applies to their lives, so that they can be a light in their schools, universities, or wherever they may end up. This year we decided to take a trip as a family to one of the Wana villages, where most of the youth here in town come from. So we've been traveling for one day by car, and we barely made it to a village called Watasongo because our brakes failed, or something happened to our brakes, so they weren't working. And now we're waiting for the canoe. We don't know when it's coming or if it's coming.
Mamma fortalte nettopp at de har sett krokodiller her ved elva før. Det skummelt?
The most exciting part of our trip to Wana was no doubt the canoe ride. I had never experienced riding up rapids before, and the scenery was beautiful. After a couple stops and some engine trouble, we pulled up to a riverbank, unloaded, and began the short hike up to our destination. The village of Wontowo was where the next Wana conference was going to be held. This was an opportunity for us to get to meet some of the parents of the youth we work with in Palu and understand a bit more about their background and where they have come from. The children immediately made friends who barely left their sides, even when they were supposed to be doing school. It's so good to see how quickly the kids make friends here. Within the first day, they were already playing with a group of friends and communicating in Indonesian and, running around. We'd barely seen them, so it's really encouraging. While our kids tried to do some school, their friends would get dressed and go to school, then come walking back an hour or so later because their teacher wasn't there. This happened the first 3 days until most of them just decided not to go at all. It became even more obvious to us how hard it must be for these children when they come to Palu with such a difficult start to their school life. My greatest desire for these young people and my own children is for them to understand the complete work of Christ on the cross and what it means to live for Him despite what the world tells them is important. There is no bigger motivation for me than knowing that we are not saved to live for ourselves, but to live for Him. There is no one I'd rather be serving than the one who saved us, loves me and sees me as complete and perfect in Him.